വിജയൻ സാറേ, ഹലോ സാറേ, കേൾക്കാമോ?
നീയെങ്കിലും പറ.
വിജയൻ സാറേ, കേൾക്കാമോ?
ഓക്കെ ഓക്കെ, കേൾക്കാം കേൾക്കാം.
ഓക്കെ ഓക്കെ ഓക്കെ.
done by officers. The elected representatives have no right. It's illegal for them to interfere. But that's not the case. So we had suggested that we need a revenue board. Kerala took a major decision in 1999 that no official, not even the chief secretary or not even the cabinet, will sit in judgment over the local government. That autonomy is very high. But once a local government decides whether the decision is being carried out, can be verified. A revenue board, because now there's a lot of surplus staff, too much of surplus staff at the top in the integrated department. So you can create a revenue board which will find out if the secretary is collecting the taxes which are fixed by the elected local government. I will not mention, we went to a local government, a research team went to a local government, and a 5-storied or more than that storied flat about 100 meters from the local government was not assessed for 8 or 9 years. So we can't be so blind, but this is another major kind of recommendation to improve this. Then the other things I mentioned earlier when I highlighted the issues. Then social accountability to avoid leakages, to the people to be confident. And participation was a core of Kerala's agenda, the core of the principle. Though a lot of controversies later came out of it. But even now, the whole thing is designed on the premise of participation. If people participate, much of these deficiencies will be overcome. So whole set of social accountability is not social audit. I think recently government has taken a very positive decision to amend the acts to bring social audit instead of performance audit. A very, very welcome step, but I'm not very happy about the quality of social audit, which is happening in NREGA. It's a very routinized kind of audit. I wouldn't say it's compromised, but very few wrong things are brought out. But we need to have the whole thing, the ombudsman system revised, and a public accounts committee in local government. And all those suggestions are there. And outcome monitoring by a third party. There's a scheme called Unnat Bharat Abhiyan. It's pushed by Government of India. UGC has written to it. AICT has written about it to all states, which means every education, Kannur University started it in the early days of People's School. Every college, right from IIM, IIT, down to a graduate college, has to do something in the Panchayat of its vicinity, in its vicinity. So UBA with voluntary technical code can add to your efficiency, which will have huge implication for finances. The last point which I want to say on devolution. Since the 7th Finance Commission is working, I didn't want to give any recommendations, but I thought 30% of the plan, we are now giving as a plan size shrinks because of availability of borrowed funds, low availability of borrowed funds. If it can be linked to the state's own tax revenue at a particular point of time without reducing it, it will be a great thing. Then now the devolution is from state to the local government direct based on formula. You don't get good data for all local governments. But district, you get a lot of data. So from state to district and district to local government will add to equity, and there's much greater data available. Then, of course, the asset details. The 6th Finance Commission took a major step to map all the assets. But now the maintenance fund can be linked to the assets. That data is available. You need to fine-tune it so there is a fairer allocation. Ultimately, which will take 2-3 Finance Commission to realize what is the revenue raising capacity of a local government and what are the standard spending needs of a local government, which requires an enormous amount of data, but which in the days of technology and artificial intelligence and everything, much more than artificial intelligence, the normal technology, you can get all of that, and the gap is what government has to give. That is the devolution. Thanks for giving this opportunity. My time is over. Thank you once again.
Thank you, sir, for that insightful reflection. Sir has highlighted that despite strong institutional foundations, tax potential is underutilized. Our own source revenue remain weak, primarily due to tax evasion. Assessments are outdated and rate structures are static. The fiscal space for local governments has also narrowed since the introduction of the GST. Yet there are significant opportunities ahead, borrowing potential through dedicated institutions, better expenditure management, and stronger fiscal discipline. It calls for a shift from devolution to performance, from just transferring funds to ensuring efficient, accountable, and innovative use. Sir has suggested 9 measures to improve financial management efficiencies and strengthen our participatory spirit upon which Kerala's decentralized model was built. Before I invite our 3 discussants, I would like to leave 2 quick questions for the panelists and the participants to frame our conversation based on Vijayan sir's presentation. Participants can raise questions and share their thoughts in the chat box because we don't have time for a discussion, but the organizers will be reverting and to you on your question section. So, one is, how can our local governments strengthen their own revenue without raising taxes? And what key reforms are needed to make fiscal accountability stronger and more transparent at the local level? These are 2 questions immediately which came into my mind. And with that, now we move to Professor Alok. Sir, over to you. You can take 10 to 15 minutes. Sir, Alok.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. I'm thankful to, thanks. First of all, sorry for my bad throat, not so good. I'm thankful to Surat Institute Library for having invited me, and particularly to Shri Vijayanand and Dr. Thomas Isaac for the invitations. Since this seminar is international nature, very quickly just put up present a perspective of this fiscal decentralizations, and then I'll come to what so Vijayan just said. And in fact, we have been working together in the past, and Vijayan's son's boss was my guru as well. Vishwanatha Ramachandran. I worked with him for about a year or so for the 13th Finance Commission's memorandum. And of course, I worked closely with Thomas Isaac. So working with the authorities of Kerala is learning something about Kerala. I can't really say I know everything about Kerala, but that's the case here. So just to put a perspective, the fiscal decentralizations is multi-order federalism. The first pillar, there are 4 pillars there, is the assignment of the responsibilities, which level of government should do what. So the principle of subsidiarity, as Dr. Nirmala said right at the beginning, it applies there. But the principle of subsidiarity is not has not been followed in India when the constitution was framed. There was a Gandhian principles, and we discarded Gandhi. There was a Gandhian constitution written by Shriman Narayan Agarwal, but we discarded that, and we had our own constitution, which is based on the 1935 Act, which was a British Act. So everything was centralized, or concentration of power was there, which was further accentuated with the imposition of GST and other things. I'll come to that a little later. Then, so we believe on the Dillon principles, which means that first you assign the responsibilities, so various orders of government, and then you assign the revenue handles, which level of government should collect what. Typically, the lower level of government collect less, spend more. That is the case with the state, and more so with the local government. And then the third pillar is the intergovernmental fiscal transfers. So you transfer resources from the top to the bottom, in between the subnational government comes in. The fourth one, which is very important, is the institution. What kind of institution you have, so that people do not really raise any kind of eyebrows on this. So like in India, we have the finance commissions, and in other federations like Australia, South Africa, we have the Fiscal and Financial Commission in South Africa, and Commonwealth Grant Commissions, and like in Canada and others, because we do have the fiscal imbalances all across. So far as the finances of the local government is concerned, uh, you know, uh, the local government, both the panchayat and municipalities, will collect from the own sources. And these own sources could be taxes and non-taxes. So these own source revenue, these are considered as a benefit taxes. So whether you put as a surcharge as benefit surcharge, or even property tax itself is a benefit tax because it cannot be really just redistributed. Like that's there in the literature. Okay. But that's a different case. It is being redistributed in some places, but generally, so far the literature is concerned, it cannot be redistributed, which means the amount of money that you're paying as a tax and non-tax, you must get back the benefit of this. Okay. So that's so they collect some taxes on their own. Then comes part the borrowing. So Vijayanand said about the Local Authorities Loan Act is a 1914 Act, which is of the British vintage. That was a central act, and many of the states have enacted the conformity acts, including Kerala. So they can borrow from the market. And it's become so fashionable these days that everybody says that you issue bonds. But that depends upon the capacity of the local government. If you have a good capacity, you can borrow from the market, and you should be in a position to spend that money right on time for the purpose you have borrowed that. Otherwise, the interest rate will go up. Any banker will tell you that if you borrow for about 3 years, 5 years time, and you cannot really spend that money. So that's those who know about local government and their capacity. So that's it's not a very good proposition. Only in the time of when the USAID was here working, then Ahmedabad Municipal Corporation, Bangalore Municipal Corporation, a couple of others, then they issued bond, they got money from the market. I'm not saying one should not borrow, but only thing is first you have to have the capacity to borrow from the market. So that's the borrowing part. The third is the verticals. So we have the union government verticals, we have also the state government verticals. There are a number of schemes in which panchayat and municipalities have some say. Either they identify the beneficiaries or they implement the schemes themselves. So there are a number of schemes, and the central government or the union government, they like to have those schemes because this is how the ministries are functioning. Mr. Vijayanand has been working, he was in the Ministry of Rural Development. And rural development is one ministry which administers the maximum schemes. And some people say, I can't really name them, that because of the Ministry of Rural Development, the estates are not urbanizing, okay, because otherwise they will not be able to get that kind of funds. Okay, so those schemes are there, both in the rural sector as well as the urban sectors. Then comes the state finance commissions, the state finance commission, which was created under Article 243I for Panchayat and Article 243Y for municipalities. And it is being constituted every 5th year or so. And Kerala has been having a good record, but not the best record. The best record, of course, is Tamil Nadu. Of course, in the later part of it, the State Finance Commission of Kerala was doing well, but in the initial part, their report was not accepted, and sometime only one part of the report was submitted, second was not submitted, and one of the report it was all except fiscal decentralizations. So big names were there. I'm not anyway getting into that. But of late, Kerala is doing well, and I must congratulate Mr. Vijayan that many of his recommendations were accepted by the state government, which is a rare case. Generally, most recommendations of the state finance commissions in many other states are rejected or not considered at all. I'm saying this with certain amount of responsibility because I have read all these reports, about 130 odd reports. I do have the compendium with me. So that is the State Finance Commission. The last is the Union Finance Commissions. The Article 280 of the Constitution, there was one subclause was added that the Union Finance Commission has to suggest measures for to augment the consort to the states for panchayat and municipality on account of the recommendation of the State Finance Commission. Because what they thought that if the State Finance Commission is making some recommendations, there will be stress on the state's finances, and that particular stress should be addressed by the Union Finance Commission. So the successive finance commissions have been making recommendations, and it is both conditional as well as unconditional. So states have been arguing that why the transfers of the Union Finance Commission is conditional, should be unconditional, otherwise money will not be spent. Now, coming to this, I have read only just about an hour ago the background note presented by Mr. S. M. Vijayanand, and of course I heard about him. The first point that he mentioned about is the village panchayat of Kerala mobilized the highest per capita, no doubt about that. The Kerala is getting the maximum. In fact, many states can learn quite a lot from Kerala. First of all, the local self-government department, which is not there in any of the states. Most states generally have the urban development department or the rural development department. The local self-government department is either there in Kerala or it is there in the Ministry of Urban Development, which is a very small unit, which is quite defunct as of now. So this is something that, and then if you look at the panchayat, you go to any of the panchayat office in Kerala, you feel some kind of a vibrancy, which means things are working. Though Kerala is an outlier compared, so it cannot be called as representative states of India. First of all, the population is an aging population, and the urbanization process there in Kerala is the fastest. And I don't know, when we started working, the average population of a Gram Panchayat used to be about 50,000 or so. Now it is just about 10,000. Why? Because most area are being urbanized. Someone can correct me whether I'm right or wrong. But this is the kind of data that I've collected. So it's just about 10,000 per Gram Panchayat. And so the population, aging populations, and of course, urbanization is fast. I don't know. There's some kind of discussions here at New Delhi that why are we giving money for the sector where the money is frozen? Okay. The word frozen is used for the rural sector, which means most people, either Niti Aayog and other places, they do feel that the multiplier effect is more so in urban sectors, in urban areas. So why do we give money to the rural sectors? We must promote or incentivize the growth sectors. Okay, that's the area which is in transitions from the rural sector to urban sectors. Okay, and in that there are a couple of issues that comes in. First of all, I don't know, I've not read. There is an MHA circular, the Ministry of Home Affairs circular, which says that before the census operation takes place, you cannot really change the boundaries. So census is going to take place in 2027. And before that, you cannot really change from panchayat to municipalities. Okay. So I think whatever we do, it's like an interregnum. So we must be prepared for 2028, the kind of policy that we set right here. I mean, I've not seen the circular, but I just heard about the circular. Okay. So that's about the urbanization part. And what Rakesh Mohan and others they have been saying, so far the country is concerned, that our urbanization is slow. Though in most urban sectors conferences, one of them that I attended in Kochi, everybody start their sentence, with the rapid urbanizations in India. But the empirical study, the kind of serious study that have been conducted, it says that urbanization in India is slow. So the first point that he said is the per capita own tax revenue in Kerala is the highest, no doubt about that. But uh, there is an improvement. There is a scope for improvement. I just digressing a bit. Number one, number two, number three, number four, or the ranking is the American concept. This is what the Germans told me. I just asked them which is the best university, which is the second best university. He said it's a German, it's an American concept. They do have an Ivy League and all that. They say that the first is a success, the second is a failure. But Germans, they feel that those who are there at the highest, some kind of a bracket, all of them are good. So from that perspective, I will not consider in my index that either Karnataka comes first or the Kerala comes second, or sometime Kerala comes first, or what the Tamil Nadu comes third, or whatever it is. All of them to me are the same, because the points those are there is a very little difference between the two. Just a minute or two, because he said about the previous studies. This ranking it was started in 2004. Mr. Vijayan was there in Srinagar, one of the roundtable conference that was organized. And this particular concept paper was presented, which was accepted by all the states. Then from 2008 onwards, this was being operationalized initially by the NCAR, which was criticized, including a person from Kerala, Mr. M.A. Oman in UPW. Then for about 5 years or so, the Institute of Public Administration, we have been operationalizing this index. And it started with the 3F, the functions, finances, and functionaries. Then we added 2 more. That is the capacity enhancement or the capacity building and the accountability framework. And in Mr. Vijayan's presentation, he said about accountability, not in the initial stages, but subsequent stages. Though you are able to collect resources of your own, but you must be accountable. Accountable to audit team, accountable to the social audit team. Okay. So there are a couple of accountability classes there. Then there's a difference between a de jure and de facto, so far as the Kerala Act is concerned. Lot of revenue powers, revenue handles have been assigned to local government, but they're collecting a few. So in this, many things comes in. First is the capacity building, and the second, of course, the accountability of the people there. Then Karnataka, of course, spending or devolving more funds to local government. I totally agree, because of the school teacher salary involved there. That kind of money is flowing to the local government, but that itself is a devolution. Okay, because you rely on the local government and strengthening their systems. So, but certainly, if you leave that, more and more devolutions taking place in Kerala. Then 2-3 other points, otherwise I'll be running short of time. The profession tax, both Kerala and Tamil Nadu, they have been imposing tax on professions, and tax on profession is there in the constitution, which was amended, and they changed the number from 250 to 2,500. I don't know I don't know. It's a mockery. Why do we have a numbers in the constitutions? So I think this is something the 16 finance commissions should write upon, and the union government should act upon this, and the constitution need to be amended. But one thing, in Kerala and in Tamil Nadu, this tax on profession is collected from the salaried class. Typically, the tax, I don't know, I just heard about this. The tax on profession is collected also from the salaried class. Typically, this tax is collected from the professionals, the chartered accountant, the architect, the doctors, and these are the hard to tax groups. And so these are there. Then, of course, I agree that the avoidance is high. Avoidance is high in Kerala, not just in Kerala, but all other states. Local government collect just about 10% of the total tax base. I'm not quoting any studies, but these are the studies that have been conducted in many of the states. And Kerala panchayats are collecting about 5%. And if you involve all the municipalities and panchayat, but certainly Mr. Vijayan must be having a better number, because he was a chairman of the state finance commissions. Then there are yes, one thing I just wanted to mention here, which is very critical. One of the dimension of the devolution index is the capacity enhancement. So I think, so far as the capacity enhancement and this capacity building is concerned, I think Kerala has to go a long way, because the capacity is far below from the state like Telangana and others. The one other point which was mentioned in the paper, which I just read it, I think I must reflect upon this. It was written that the devolution index prepared by the Tata Institute of Social Science in 2016 is more robust. Okay, I just wanted to say 2-3 points on this. First, not to criticize any, I have not criticized even my report. The report prepared by the Tata Institute of Social Science, it had no perspective of its own. It has borrowed from the previous studies. The previous 5 studies was conducted by the Institute of Public Administration, and none other than the Prime Minister of India. They distributed the money to the best performing states. So the idea was sort of stolen, but without any kind of acknowledgement in the report. So some kind of an academic honesty that is there. Since this point has been raised there in the paper, I think I must mention this there. And the most important part there is that the 2014 report, it has 26 indicators across 6 dimensions, whereas the Tata Institute of Social Science study, it dropped 8 indicators out of 26. So one can raise about the credibility of that index. So that's there. So far the presentation is concerned, it is not a very scholarly presentations. You look at even the references, somewhere they mention the name with sir and other things. Okay. So far as the method is concerned, I don't know whether they were able to collect data from the states or from the field, though they mentioned this there, but they have not mentioned the methodology part of it. Okay. On the contrary, the studies that have been conducted by the IIPA, it has its own advisory group. The best of the countries, they were advising the committee, and in the latest report, it has been acknowledged by the chief economic advisor. It was even evaluated and scrutinized at various levels, including the Prime Minister's office. Though the first 3 states are not ruled by the political party which is there in the center, despite that the Prime Minister's office, they simply passed on the report for its release by the minister. So I think I must stop it here because I'm running short of time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for bringing together different international and national experience and different research points together. I think towards end, I'll try to summarize the key points. And now I invite Professor Mohan Kumar. Over to you, Mohan. You can also take 10 to 15 minutes.
Thank you, Chair, Dr. Nirmala and Vijayan sir, for your insightful presentation. I would like to place it on my record that my thankfulness to the organizers for having invited me to the seminar. Dr. Suhut Kumar was my close friend, and when I was teaching in Kila in 2002, 2002 and 2003, he used to come and give lectures in the courses which we used to organize it in Kila. He was a person with in-depth understanding about his subject and with a internalized concept of legal thoughts. Is very rarely we find it in people, but he was the one. And with these words, I would like to share my views on the financial decentralization. I would like to appreciate Sri Vijayan's paper on fiscal decentralization. I have gone through the draft and it has been done very beautifully. And he has touched upon almost all the points that is the most burning issues in decentralization process. Very recently, the Public Policy Research Institute has conducted a study. It is on behalf of the 7th State Finance Commission, but we focused on non-tax revenues of local governments in the state. And our experience, I would like to share as part of the response to Dr. Vijayan's presentation on the topic. Sir, you are absolutely right in stating that, these local governments, whether it is Gram Panchayats or intermediary panchayats or the urban local bodies, they have not yet graduated into the status of an independent, autonomous, political and economic entities to administer the developmental and social issues under their jurisdiction. It has to go a long way from now to attain the status of autonomy in whatever the legal status it has been given and the powers and functions and finance that is bestowed on them. With these powers and functions, I would like to add to this point that it is a supplement to what you have said, that they have not yet graduated to the status that they are constitutionally expected to perform. First and foremost is about the revenue part. If you take, there are major 6 items in the own source revenue, which can be broadly classified into tax and non-tax revenue. In the tax revenue part, which constitutes about 70% of the total revenue, total own source revenue of local self-governments, 70%, which comes from tax revenue. 2 components in the tax revenue. There are 6 components in tax revenue: the property tax and provision tax. For the last 10-15 years, I would like to say that these 2 components constitute about 85 to 90% of the total tax revenue of local governments. That is quite true with the Gram Panchayat as well as with the urban local bodies. And in the case of non-tax revenue share has been consistently declining from 45% in the early part of this early 20s, 2000, it to around 30, 45 to 30% now. It has gone down to even 25%, non-tax revenue. In the non-tax revenue part, there are 34 items for both urban and rural local bodies. In the 34 items, this is highly skewed in the sense that the first two items, which we can say that rental income and fines and fees and penalties. These two items constituted more than 80% of the total non-tax revenue of local governments in the state. Rest of things are almost more or less ignored. Why this has been happening is for the simple reason that I would like to state it here that there is no outcome budget that is demanded from the local units. Of course, the state government devolves fund around 25 to 30% of its state plan fund to local governments. But at the end of the day, there is no demand from the local government from this top that what is the outcome of that that cake that has been part of the cake that has been given to you. And in the recent, now in December, the election is going to happen. In the election, and none of the local governments are going to present as part of the election campaign that the present committee has done this and this as per our manifesto, which we have done presented before the elections. Or we can say we have legal issues in this that Gram Panchayat there is no opposition, in the local bodies there is no opposition, it is a single unit. Of course, all these are taken for granted. But at the same time, the committee, even if it is taken as a single political entity, notwithstanding the fact that there are political parties which constitute the committee, they have it to present before the people that we had a manifesto before the elections and this is the outcome that we have achieved during this period. Now the local governments have also come to a saturation that many of the projects which they envisage and implement, there are not many takers from the project like basic amenities, facilities for basic amenities. That is the first point, that the outcome budget which will make them some kind of demand that will put on them to have a resource mobilization, it will strengthen the resource mobilization process. And second and more important thing is, like, see, when we have also estimated whether the tax potential is realized or not. Of course, when we work out from empirical standards, the local bodies have gone beyond their tax potential capacities. If we take economic growth as the basis with which we can relate the tax potential, the during the period last 10 years, 10-year period, municipalities' own source revenue has registered a growth rate of 19%, or 19% against the GSDP growth rate at current price of 9%. It is substantially higher. Of course, we cannot have a growth in non-tax revenue much higher than the growth in GSDP. And at the even at the state level and national level, even at the local level, this is an indicator that we can use it. But what it has not gone to, it has not lived up to the expectations of the municipalities. Municipalities' non-tax revenue has registered a growth rate which is much less than the growth rate of the GSDP, but the Gram Panchayat's own source revenue, it has registered a growth rate higher than the GSDP growth rate. That means to a great extent, if you take the economic growth get reflected in the economic activities in the jurisdiction of a local government, and to that extent the own source revenue goes up. If we extend the hypothesis to local governments, it is quite true that to a great extent the local governments has performed much better than what we expect in terms of the economic growth and this association with their own tax revenue mobilization. That is a fact. But at the same time, we have collected data from primary data from 38 gram panchayats, and there is substantial differences in the resource mobilization and the scale at which they have mobilized the resources of gram panchayats. And there is, of course, during the COVID period, there was a dip in the tax and non-tax revenue collected by the local governments. That is a fact. But barring these two exceptional years, there are ups and downs, and significant ups and downs. Then some years the non-tax revenue has touched its bottom from 40% to 10%, and in some years it has gone up. Why these volatility happen in revenue collection of local governments is a fact which is totally ignored, and they are not responsible. Actually, even the board or the committee or the officers in the local governments are responsible. They don't need to explain it, and we do understand. We requested data from 300 local governments in the state. It took almost a month before for the report that we have been preparing. To the surprise of all, only 38 local governments supplied us the data from 2014-15 to 2023-24, and the rest of the local governments failed to supply data for the simple reason that they don't have it. The IKM K-Smart project that is supplying data, there are lots of incompatibilities and glitches, which is not the previous software is not compatible with the existing software, and therefore they are unable to provide the data, and they don't have it. They don't have it in the sense that, as Vijayan sir knows much better, that if you are seriously have taken up your planning process seriously, naturally you will look into the previous data and how we have performed and how we are going to perform in the future. Unfortunately, these local governments do not have to go back to their earlier performance and resource mobilization, and on that basis they have to build up their planning process and the economic activities in the next year. It is ignored. They don't have the data. They have to collect the data from different registers and put it together, and that takes lots of man hours, which to a great extent they don't have. Of course, when we asked the data, that was the time when this voters list renewal process was going on and they were engaged. But this is a fact. And second and more important thing I would like to flag in this contest is that the local governments will collect data only if there is an umbrella act and rule. Provision tax, there is an umbrella act and rule. Accordingly, they go by. They don't have to do. They don't have many. They don't have sufficient rooms to do it as well, and it is goes on. But in the provision tax, there is whatever is given to the local governments, it is being collected. There is no fresh effort to identify institutes and establishments that have come up under the jurisdiction of the local governments and to collect provision tax. That doesn't happen. So it is stagnant almost. And in the case of rental income from under the non-tax revenue, it has almost been declining in most of the local governments. That is quite true with the municipalities and Gram Panchayat. Why this has been happening is there is no maintenance work taking place. The constructions which took place in the 80s and 90s and in the 70s, these buildings are not maintained properly so that there is no takers. Even if these commercial constructions are at the heart of the town or in the prime place in the village panchayat or in the municipality, there is no takers, and there is no takers for these commercial establishments. And why this has been happening is that the Gram Panchayats and the local governments have their own issues to flag, that because of this and this we are unable to do it. But it is a total gross waste of resources that have already been invested, and it is not giving a proper return to the local bodies. That's why the rental income has been on the decline. And second thing, what I would like to say that there is the need for outcome budget, because whatever rent and property tax and provision tax come, and whatever tax come, that's why it remains highly skewed. Types of tax in the tax revenue structure, and two in the non-tax revenue structure. It constitutes more than 80%. Rest of the tax are totally ignored, and there is very little effort to look into fresh avenues of resource mobilization. It is not a blame that these local governments do not have to do it because they don't have much financial crunch, because whatever the resource they receive from the state and CFC, Central Finance Commissions, and less than 10% of the revenue, total revenue which they mobilize from the own resources, that is sufficient enough to run the show without much of a hassle. And this is precisely the reason it has been happening. And there is, so the first point that I would like to drive home is simply that the Sixth Finance Commission, under the chairmanship of Sri Vijayan, has revised the entire non-tax revenues, entire rates for the local governments in the state. I do not know to what extent it has been implemented, but in the same way, we have also revised the rates for 2025, and what will be the rate? And most of the items under the non-tax remain. It is not a serious matter which has gone to the policy making of at the state level. So the point that I would like to drive home is as simple as that the local governments on their own at this present juncture do not have to go for fresh avenues of tax collect, fresh avenues of resource mobilization. Whatever resource they have been mobilizing for the last 25 years, they simply continue with that. They don't have to go for it because there is no need for it. Because they don't need to tell the people that we have done this, we have done that, as the state government do at the end of the day, at the end of 5 years, which they don't have to do. This kind of paradigm has to be changed and shifted, which is very important. That is what I would like to say. That only with the outcome budget and accountability and commitment to what they have taken up, this resource mobilization process can be fine-tuned, and only with the fine-tuning of the own source revenue of local governments, that the financial autonomy, which is very, very crucial for democratic decentralization process that was initiated as part of the Panchayat Raj and Municipality Act in the country and in Kerala. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mohit Kumar, for the honest reflection with a lot of empirical evidences you have come up. It's very interesting. And now I invite our last speaker, Mr. Sumesh, to share his reflections on the note shared. You can also take 10 to 15 minutes. Over to you. Mr. Sumesh?
സുമേഷ് സാർ, ഇവിടെ നിന്ന് വേണമെങ്കിൽ ഷെയർ ചെയ്യാം.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, yes. Sumit sir?
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Good evening to all. Due to the constraint of time, I just skip my slides. So I don't go to the constitutional provisions and other backgrounds, but I just share the. I would like to share Section 5 of Kerala Panchayat Raj Act. So it empowers Panchayat Raj institutions or urban local bodies as body corporates. So I think this point is very much with importance in connection with the on-source revenue, and I think it's a provision which empowers their duties and responsibilities. Then this is the broader on-source revenue source of local self-government institutions that Vijayan sir has already shared. As per our information, 2,933 crores is the overall on-source revenue of. Hello?
Hello.
Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes.
As per 2024-25 records, the total on-source revenue of local self-government institution is 2,933 crores. Roughly, we can speak it comes up to 3,000. So let us have a look on the growth of on-source revenue of local self-government institutions for the last 5 years. It started from 2020 to 21. It was 1,500, and by the end of 2024-25, it comes up to roughly 3,000 rupees. So this is the growth of property tax collection in Kerala that we have already discussed. So here, when we comes to the year 25-26, you can see a decline in the demand of on-source revenue of local self-government institutions. This is an interesting thing because usually we show a positive trend of growth in the on-source revenue. But when we are coming to 2025-26, our demand shows a slight decline because. So this is the comparativity statement. This is a graphical representation of growth of property tax in crores. From 2024-25, it was 2,836. When we come to year 25-26, the total demands comes down 2,690. So these are the reasons behind this process. So basically, our urban property tax demand was exorbitant and it was a bogus demand. During the past 3 years, it comes down from 1,400 to just 1,000. So by the introduction of data purification process, earlier we have done it in, there's a process of data purification. Earlier, Grama Panchayat and rural local bodies have only the Sanjaya database. The Sanjaya database, actually, it was a lot of mistakes were in Sanjaya database, and we have started to correct the demand by 2022-23. After the our huge effort during huge effort of 3 years, 3 to 4 years. We have corrected the database of tax database of rural local bodies, but still the urban local bodies show an exorbitant and bogus database. By introducing K-Smart application during the last year, we have introduced another module, that is LDMS module, Legacy Database Management System. By this module, we have corrected the demand side of urban local bodies by which we can exclude the duplication of buildings, removed demolished buildings from the database. We have posted proper tax in demand register. We have corrected the tax exemptions like ex-servicemen, building below 60 meter squares, the exempted buildings like hospitals, schools, etc. We are incorporated all these things in the legacy database management system. And by the introduction of K-Smart property tax module, by business re-engineering, we have corrected the urban local body demand. So we can now say that almost our database is correct. Then for the last 2 years, Department of Local Self-Government entered into a series of process by which we can increase the property tax collection in the state of Kerala. These are the methodology we adopted. We have purified the data and the realistic demand generation we have done, updating the tax profile of taxpayers, issue demand notice properly. We have conducted a series of citizen awareness campaigns. We have prompted citizens to pay tax through SMS alert, and all these things we can actually we can set up a series of activities to promote to increase our property tax. Just I can say an example of Manur Grama Panchayat in Calicut district, Kozhikode district. By the data purification, they have increased 64% of property tax during 1 year. So all of our efforts to increase the on-source revenue, especially the property tax. Then these are our technologies, methods we adopted to increase property tax. Then we come to discuss a major point. You can see that our rural residential buildings are 89 lakhs 58,000 and non-residential buildings are 24 lakhs 70,000. That comes to a total of 1 crore 40 lakhs buildings we can see in rural area. Then we come to urban side. Residential buildings is 27 lakhs 64,000 and non-residential building is 10 lakhs 58,000, which comes up to 38 lakhs buildings in rural urban area. So we have a total of 1 crore 52,000 buildings in our database, in our K-Smart database. I think there is a misdistribution or misassessment of buildings because this population distribution of Kerala is 52 in rural and 48 in urban. So these statistics are not matching in my simple logic. I think there are a lot of buildings to be assessed in urban local bodies, and we have to explore this side. Then we come to professional tax. Our professional tax in Grama Panchayat is 178 crores. Municipality it comes 149 crores. In corporation it comes 143 crores, and total professional tax of state of Kerala during the financial year 2024-25 is 471 crores only. So when let us look into the distribution of job distribution, otherwise the distribution pattern of the establishments in Kerala. As per the records of Labour Department, Number of shops and other commercial establishment comes 3 lakhs 74,000. Total employees comes around 11,000, 11 lakhs 48,336. As per the registers records of industries department, number of factories, industries, MSMEs are comes 3 lakhs 55,000. The total employees working in that factory sector, that industry sector, otherwise which include MSMEs, comes around 7 lakhs 54,000. Total government employees of Kerala is 5 lakhs 45,000. So where is all other employees? The last recent publication of Kerala Padana report shows that average per capita income of Kerala is 18, yearly per capita income is 18,600. So I think a lot of people are out of professional tax network. This has to be renewed and reworked. Next is some innovative resources. That is, we have identified certain innovative on-source revenue sources like NABARD, UIDF fund, Corporate Social Responsibilities Fund, District Mineral Foundation Fund, access and benefit sharing under Biodiversity Act. There are provisions in Disaster Management Fund, public-private partnerships are there, crowdfunding provisions are there, sponsorship provision is also there, contributions, benefit sharing, awards. These are the major on-sources of local self-government institutions. Before ending my presentation, let me present my views on our on-source revenue. Our demand is, the overall demand of during 2024-25 is 2,836 crores, and our collection was only 1,768 crores. Overall percentage is 64. See, this is the actual situation. I am of a point of view that we cannot explore new avenues of or new items of taxes or non-tax items. We have just to explore the total demand only. One more thing I have to share is that recently Government of Kerala issued directions to local bodies that we have to stop the tax collection in industrial parks. So this is under a dispute now. No taxes are collecting from industrial parks and special industrial units or designated parks. And one more thing is that recently Government of Kerala issued a direction of levying 5% collection of tax collection charge to IKM. All these things we have to discuss, and with the single my last point is we have collected 50 crores of license fees during the last financial year. The major reason is that as per Kerala Panchayat license rules, only 150 items can be licensed. All other are under we can't impose license for an item beyond this 150 items. It was an old outdated item. Recently, Government of Kerala has renewed, amended the license rule, and now we can license, we can levy taxes, we can license to any legitimate business in the state. So I think it also contributes a large amount of on-source to local self-government institutions. Okay. Then this is one of other area to be considered. The consequences of decline in on-source revenue. Loss of incentive for revenue mobilization. There is 15% weightage in plan fund allocation of grants to local bodies. Loss of CFC grant, those who not achieve property tax growth rate at par with the state gross domestic product. These are a this is a precondition to CFC grant. One of the precondition to CFC grant to urban local bodies, and loss of 1% plan fund general, those who are unable to achieve 90% of on source revenue by government of Kerala order. So by sensitizing all these things to elected representatives and employees, we can increase on source revenue, and we have take it as a challenge to sensitize all the elected representatives and employees, because I have talked with many presidents, panchayat presidents, and nobody is unaware, nobody was aware about these things. And these are my simple reflections. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Now, I would like to request Vijayan sir, if you would like to respond to the discussions raised. And also, I think there will be some questions in the chat box also. If there's anything, sir, please respond.
Thank you. I don't want to get into the panel discussion. It'll be quite this thing, but one or two clarifications. The capacity to raise bonds, of course, is agreed, will not be there even with a Kochi corporation. But we can have a fund which can be raised by the Kerala Urban Local Government Development Fund, like the TNUDF, which can raise bonds from the market for and on behalf of municipalities or panchayats. Second is whether rural development is stopping urbanization. I don't think urbanization is a great idea. The ideal thing is what Dr. Abdul Kalam said, make rural areas livable. Kerala's urbanization is not because of urban areas being stronger, rural areas becoming more livable, and people moving out of urban into rural areas. So we need to rethink the urban-rural divide. And otherwise, if you convert all the them into town panchayats and municipalities, the urban funds will all be sucked up by the big metropolitans. Then another clarification, profession tax is not from salaried employees alone, though they have to pay, others can escape. But they are from all professions. They're very neatly defined, including doctors, engineers. Even lawyers went to the High Court to get a stay and all that. So all professions are taxed. We even came out with the idea of presumptive tax, which was challenged in the High Court. Okay, now the three questions asked to me, how to motivate elected representatives to collect more. One, of course, the point which was mentioned, 15% incentive. If you really know, their funds will come down. Second is training them, importance of own revenue, the freedom of own revenue. What makes you a local government is your revenue. But people don't just respond to positive classes and all that. If you compare local governments and say this local government has so much of development, but its collection is low, and it just get discussed in the district, it discussed in the state, your performance is low, there's a kind of a natural motivation to at least live up to the neighbors. And then we can also help states, panchayats, to come out with, some panchayat is interested in doing a perfect assessment to help them, sit with them and assess it. Rates will be set by the panchayats. Then measurement of efficiency was asked. Of course, efficiency is a very, very complex thing, but a good number of efficiencies I mentioned can have very simple indicators to start with. Later, as your data gets fine-tuned, it can become more and more complex. Then how can you prioritize was asked. During People's Plan initial days, prioritization was given a very clear thing. It's not just by impression. You need data, you need participatory data, sit with the people, evolve norms and prioritize. Not to say I want this road first. These are all very detailed instructions. Even in the early days of People's Plan, we just to pull them out. There are very clear norms for transparent prioritization. So these are the three big questions asked. There are some other small things I'm not responding to. Anyway, congratulations to the organizers for a very interesting evening of discussion on not a very easy topic, fiscal.
Thank you, sir. And I know, sir, it's getting late for your usual schedule. but still you continue to respond. Thank you so much. So I just conclude. It's difficult challenge for me to conclude. But anyway, we will be coming out with a report by the end of by the middle of next month, which will be including all the presentations and the questions which has been raised in the chat boxes. We will be coming out with a report on this. But I'll just try to just quickly say the few points and conclude the session. The discussion today highlighted several important dimensions of fiscal decentralization, local revenue performance, and local governments still rely mainly on rental income, fees or fines. Both remain underutilized. The constitutional cap on professional tax continues to limit fiscal space, and there is broad agreement that this needs review to strengthen local autonomy. At the same time, tax avoidance and weak collection efficiency remain challenges across states. The focus should be on improving accountability, strengthening institutional capacity, and using digital tools to modernize collection rather than adding new taxes. We also heard that revenue performance differs sharply between local bodies, urban and rural. While urban local governments have shown slower growth in non-tax revenue compared to the state economy, while rural panchayats have performed relatively better, reflecting stronger linkages between local economic activity and revenue mobilization. Then a recurring issue is data deficiency and viability. Many local governments lack reliable financial data or mechanisms to track performance. And finally, innovative ideas such as using digital payment platforms, citizens awareness campaigns, and strengthening capacity building, performance-based incentives, and along with exploring new funding sources. Overall, I think the message is clear that fiscal decentralization will work only when local governments combine efficiency, transparency, and accountability with creativity in resource mobilization. And I think with this, I conclude, and I thank all of you, all the speakers and the participants for this rich and engaging discussion. And now over to Srilata Madam for the final conclusion.
Thank you, sir. We expressed our grateful thanks to presenter and speakers and the moderator and the participants. And the participants are requested to join tomorrow's seminar, subject digital governance for better services. And all participants are requested to participate in the next tomorrow's seminar, same link, same time. And thanks to all once again. Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.